Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Thomas Brooks with I.W.I.L, impacting where I live. And that's what we've been doing for the past year. Me and my family, my wife, Taquisha Brooks, and the little ones, we've been living in Kentucky, northern Kentucky, for the past year, serving the Lord and doing outreach at Oakcreek Campground, where our mindset is just to bring the gospel to where people are at. And that's what we've been doing for the past year or so. And the Lord's been blessing that. He's been allowing us to have some evangelistic outreach opportunities in Cincinnati, Ohio, that have proven to be fruitful. We were collaborating with a brother from up that side, from Cincinnati, Ohio. We went out on Saturdays to the place where there was more congestion, like the bus stops and everything, and it was really interesting. But what I wanted to just share with everybody about a week or so ago, not really a week or so ago, probably was more like Memorial Day or Memorial Weekend, so that wasn't a week ago. But what happened was, it was just a normal day. We were kind of just chilling with a family. It was a nice family who believes in the Lord, doing a little cookout with them. And then it started raining. And so, we had to scramble and go for cover. But shortly after that, we had some unexpected event that happened. Pretty much, our campsite is right on Salem Creek. I mean, it's beautiful. You come out your door, you're looking at this creek, nice, tranquil, peaceful creek. It sounds just amazing, but this creek did something unexpected. Normally when it's at its normal state, it's about maybe calf high or so probably like 1 foot. And at best, on a rainy day, like a heavy rainy day, it might get up to like 4 feet or something like that. But on this day in particular, man, it rained, but it didn't rain like a thunderstorm rain. And after the rain went away, the creek started rising. And it didn't stop rising. It just kept coming and coming and coming. And this thing rose to about, I say, 3 or 4 times its normal height. And so, that changed everything. So this is on a weekend where everybody, I say everybody else, not us, but everybody else is just, they lit, they drunk, they, using some substances that possibly not legal. And so everybody's just lit. And now this thing happened where this creek is flooded, and you start looking around, everybody's panicking, and everybody's scrambling because this thing is really just ruining their weekend. It's just making people adjust and have to respond immediately. And for me, I was thinking as I was reading just in the word, and I'm looking at this creek, and this is after the fact, but it's like after that big flood, the creek went back to its normal state. It just looks peaceful and just as tranquil as ever. And it made me think about the Christian. Many times we are like the creek. We are something that's always moving, steady flowing, nice and tranquil, peaceful. And people love the fact that we are there. They love to look at us. They love to passively observe us, to say, oh wow, those Christian standards, those Christian virtues, those are to be admired. I like knowing that they're around. I like knowing that they exist. But they never submit themselves to engage with it, to engage with the God of the Christians or the Christ of the Christians. It's just something that, they passively like, yeah, okay, you believe, okay, yeah, God, all right, I can be in a conversation with you, but, really not have any involvement with what you believe or the reality of what you believe. And it's not like the creek. You can come out, look at it, like, oh, that's a nice creek, be blessed by the steady flow of it, be blessed by the sound of it, be blessed knowing that it exists. It can give you comfort in times when you're in discomfort. But yet, You can do all of that, but never once step foot in the creek to get involved with what's actually in it. And it made me think about, as far as like the Christian, like this particular day, I was just pondering and trying to figure it out, like what would cause this creek to rise 3 to 4 times its normal height, go beyond the bounds or the limits that, man has constructed for it to kind of keep it in its place and start evading into the lives of everybody. And that it started to kind of blow my mind, because I'm like, man, what can cause something so limited as a creek, something so small to have such a big effect? And I mean, on this particular day, this creek, when it was moving fast, and you could see big logs, trees, all of this stuff being transported downstream, something that normally this creek wouldn't be able to sustain or hold up. And now this thing is moving, it's moving big stuff. It has somehow gotten strength to do something beyond its current abilities. And later on, we found out that the creek is sourced by another creek, and that creek is sourced by a lake. And on that lake, there's a floodgate. And on this particular day, it was said that the floodgate was open. And man, that thing just blew my mind when I thought about it, because here it is, we're downstream, and a floodgate from on high was opened up, and it caused this normal creek to do some things extraordinary. It caused it to move things that it by itself couldn't move. Like I said, big logs. All kind of stuff was flowing down this thing. It caused this nice tranquil creek to invade in the lives of everybody around it. It forced all of the residents of this campground to engage. And that just blew my mind. I was just thinking, like, a floodgate from on high. That sounds so familiar, and as us as believers, we speak of like the Lord opening the window or opening the floodgate. And it's mostly in the context of like some financial blessing or something like that. But here it is, a source from on high that has the resources, the power, release something into something that was limited, such as, the believer, just if y'all can roll with that analogy of, here it is, God has all the resources that we need. Yeah, we're limited. Yeah, we have a small capacity. Yeah, we have, but a limited realm of influence. We can only do but so much. But it's in our limitations that the Lord does amazing and awesome things, and it's for his glory. I can't look at the creek and be like, man, the creek is so awesome because it allowed itself to flood. It's because its limitations that when the floodgate was open, it flooded. And it did something extraordinary, and it wasn't sourced in itself. And so it just made me start thinking, of the believers, that as we walk through this life, there's a certain peace about the believer. There's a certain peace about the Christian, the person who trusts in the Lord Jesus for their salvation, living a life regenerated by the Holy Spirit. There's a certain peace and a calm about it. There's a tranquility about it. There's a transparency about it. And the world enjoys observing it. And they don't mind that we exist. They don't mind that you exist in their neighborhood. You probably the nice family that lives next to them, and they're real comfortable knowing that some believers live next to them, but yet won't engage in a meaningful conversation with you. But then there comes those times, for the believer, the one who might feel like, man, Lord, but I only have this limited amount of time, or this limited amount of knowledge, or just whatever you think your limitations are, The Lord can use that. And I'm telling you, when the Lord opens a floodgate and he pours out heavenly resources into you, the world around it is going to be changed. The people in your realm of influence are going to be changed. And it's just up to you just to allow the Lord to have his way. Here it is on this particular day. Everybody was going about their business like normal. It reminded me about the thing what Jesus said about, everybody will be drinking and marrying and being married. And then on that day, all of a sudden, things going to change. And that's what happened. On this particular day, things changed for everybody in the campground. And it was interesting to look at the faces of people. A lot of them were unprepared. A lot of them were, unexpected and really sobered up. All the faces were just blank. Like, man, this just happened. All my stuff is possibly ruined. But it gave them a reality check that things can change in the blink of an eye. And I think for the believer, we can be that ringer of the bell, to let people know, like, there's coming a time, there's coming a day when everything is going to change. And I think we're seeing that, definitely now in this year. This has been an interesting year with the coronavirus, with the social political issues that's going on right now, with the police brutality and the murders that are stacking up. I mean, we're seeing some very interesting things here, and I think right now the Lord is opening a floodgate for the believers to get out of your space, the space where you like being at, where people just observe you, or you could just observe the world and just kind of go on. The Lord is looking to fill us. He's looking to fill you for his glory, for the impact and change of the world around you. And I think, man, we should just be encouraged in that the Lord has placed his church in this particular time when the world is frantic, when the world is just coming up with stuff out of the just saying stuff out of the side of their neck as far as trying to find a solution to what's going on. And the believer has the solutions. It's time to, break past our limitations. It's time to come over the banks. It's time to flow into the lives of this world around us and let them know that we have a message that they need to hear. We know a God that knows all things. We know a God that can change the hearts of people. We know a God that can take people from a sinful condition and make them children of him. And so that's a risk worth taking, That's a risk worth taking, I would say, for the believer. If you feel like you're limited, you feel like, okay, you only have a certain realm of influence, or you have a certain level of abilities, man, the Lord is he's looking to open a floodgate and fill you from on high so you can do some extraordinary things. And I'm not saying as far as extraordinary, like, something, I guess, grand, like going off to a different country doing something, but I mean something that's out of your normal capacity, whether it's talking to your neighbor, whether if it's talking to your family members, whether it's like just doing something for the impact of the kingdom, for the glory of God. And it's going to happen. This is an interesting year we find ourselves in. Believer, you're in an interesting family. You have a God who has all the resources that you can imagine. And he's looking to open a floodgate and fill you to capacity, to overflowing, to where you become where you can penetrate and engage and impact the world around you. So God bless y'all. Again, this is Thomas Brooks with I.W.I.L, impacting where I live. Peace out. Love y'all.